Whoa! Woo! Wow. I'm not gonna lie, man. I'm not gonna lie. This news took everybody's attention. Right now, we're at halftime with this Monday Night Football match between the Ravens and the Colts. It's a boring game. Nobody cares. While this game was happening, we just got the bomb dropped on us when it came to this news. Jon Gruden has officially resigned as the Raiders head coach after all the emails that came out that showed him making racist comments back when he made that email, like 10 years ago. The emails he sent like a decade ago where he was saying a lot of racist comments in it. It was just bad. The emails were bad. So because of all the language he used there, just some anti-gay, he said a lot of insensitive things in those emails. It was disgusting. But those emails come out. We hear about it. He ends up addressing it in the media, and he doesn't really take ownership for what he said. It wasn't like, I'm sorry, I did say those things. I take full responsibility for what I said. I am not that person that I displayed myself in those emails. I shouldn't have used those words, but I did at the time. I take full ownership. I apologize, and moving forward, I will definitely show, even if you don't believe my apology is real, I will definitely show moving forward that I am not a racist person. I don't believe in these actions. If he would have came out and taken responsibility for what he said, it might have been a different situation, but he didn't. He didn't. So, he kind of just said, well, that's just not me. I don't have a racist bone in my body. I just said those things back then, but that's not who I am now. He didn't really take responsibility for that. But whether or not he took responsibility, honestly, him resigning was the smart thing to do. Because after this comes out, how does that locker room of players trust you as a head coach? We already know it's always kind of difficult for players when it comes to being coached by Jon Gruden. Jon Gruden is an old school type coach. He can be very aggressive at times. We already know that Jon Gruden as a head coach, man, there are just some things he does that players just don't like as a whole. So it was already somewhat difficult. Not to mention his relationship with Derek Carr is somewhat complicated because Derek Carr has been trying to prove himself to Jon Gruden that he is the quarterback for this team. And Jon Gruden, for the most part, didn't buy it, but he was starting to buy into it this year. So after all that's happened and all the situation this Raiders team has gone through with Jon Gruden, how do they move forward with him after these emails surface? There's nothing you can do. So Gruden made the smart decision. There's no way he can go back into that locker room with those players and face them and continue to coach them and have them listen to what he has to say. He's lost the locker room. There's no way he can move forward and actually do that. So Gruden did the smart thing. He resigned. And I'm not going to lie, that was a bomb that was dropped on me. I'm sitting here in the live stream, and all of a sudden, we get hit with that. One of my people in the live streams here, he just straight up said it right there that Jon Gruden resigned. Shout out to him. He knows who he is. I appreciate you, man, for giving us that news because it just shocked all of us. We couldn't even pay attention to the game because we're just hearing he resigns. I didn't believe it was real for a second, but then I checked. All of a sudden, it's exploding on Twitter. This man has resigned. So, yeah, Jon Gruden is out for the head coach of the Raiders. In terms of what he said and all this other stuff, I said what I said in the beginning. I'm not going to move forward. If he would have taken responsibility, it would have been better. But at the same time, there's no way he can face that locker room. So, yeah, Gruden's out. Me personally, I think it's a positive for the Raiders. I spoke this when Jon Gruden originally came back to be the head coach for them, and they gave him that 10-year deal. I told Raider Nation, you're not winning a Super Bowl with Jon Gruden as your coach. You're probably not even going to make the playoffs. I said the first 5 years he's going to be here, you're not going to make the playoffs. And first year, missed the playoffs. Second year, missed the playoffs. Missed playoffs. I told you guys you weren't going to make the playoffs with him. In fact, this year, I still didn't have you making the playoffs. If this didn't resurface and Jon Gruden was still the head coach, you wouldn't have made the playoffs. That's just how I saw it. I did not see the Raiders making the playoffs with this guy as their head coach. Jon Gruden's a good head coach, but I just don't think he's the type of head coach that's going to lead you to a Super Bowl in this age. He's still trying to coach like it's 1998. He's so old school, and it's just the way he's coaching, it's not going to work in this era of football. So I just didn't believe in him as a coach. I know what he did in the past, but with the way his coaching style is now, I don't see him getting a team to a Super Bowl. So I just didn't believe in him getting the Raiders to the Super Bowl. So I'm not surprised to see they didn't have a lot of success and they missed the playoffs. So me personally, him resigning was probably a positive thing for the Raiders because now they actually got a chance to make the playoffs. The only question is now, who's going to become the head coach? I think at this point, you might want to move towards your offensive coordinator and have him be the temporary head coach. Or maybe you're going to go out and get somebody else. I have no idea how this situation is going to go moving forward. Either way, Jon Gruden is out. It's been quite the day. Once these emails surfaced, I was thinking they may have to fire him, but the fact that he resigned, that was the right thing to do. That was the right thing to do because there's no way Jon Gruden can go back into that locker room and talk with these guys and coach these guys and try to rally these guys up for each game to try to go out there and win a football game. There's no way they would rally behind him. After this, no way they would rally behind him. So, yeah, Gruden just resigning, man. He resigned, did the right thing. I don't know what's going to happen with him moving forward. I heard a lot of people in the chat saying, Jon Gruden's going to get a job somewhere else. And maybe, but I just don't know. I don't know. With this surfacing, what locker room's going to accept him at this point? With this surfacing, what locker room's going to want to be coached by Jon Gruden? Because now you're going to have questions like, how does Jon Gruden think about me? Like, if you're a player in the locker room, you're going to start to think, how does Jon Gruden see me? How does he look at me? What does he actually think about me? Like, that's going to start to think about that, man. If you're African-American, if you're gay, anything like that, with all the comments he made in those emails, if you're one of those players that he was making sensitive comments about or racist remarks towards, yeah, you're going to start looking at Jon Gruden in a different light. So I don't see him going into another locker room and all of a sudden everything's all good. I don't know. This might be the end of Jon Gruden's coaching career. If it is, it's unfortunate because I don't want him to not be able to coach anymore because of the terrible words he said a decade ago. The man shouldn't be in a position where he can no longer coach a team just because of remarks he made a decade ago. But that could end up being the case. That could very well end up being the case. And if that happens, oh boy, that's rough. That is rough. But, it's tough. It's tough for Gruden, but he ultimately made the right decision. He made the right decision by resigning. He needed to resign because there's no way Derek Carr or Waller or Ruggs, none of these guys, Josh Jacobs, none of these dudes were going to be able to really look at him the same. It just wasn't going to happen. Derek Carr already had problems with Gruden not accepting him. After this, he really doesn't want to be accepted by him. But all the other players in that locker room, there's no way they can rally behind Jon Gruden. It's really the end. So Gruden made the right decision by resigning and moving forward. They're just going to have to find somebody to take place for the head coach. If they want to upgrade the offensive coordinator or maybe the defensive coordinator and make him the temporary head coach, they can do that. All in all, the Raiders they're in an interesting situation. I don't know where the team goes moving forward. I don't know what happens involving this season. It just feels that now that you've lost Gruden, who's molded this team in his image, where do you go from here if you're the Raiders? Does this mean you have a chance to make the playoffs? Do you go up? Do you go down? The Raiders right now are a chaotic team. I don't know where you go moving forward. But it is what it is. And anyway, yeah, that's really all I got to say about this. This was crazy. I'm going to get ready for the second half of this Ravens-Colts game. Hopefully the Ravens can get their crap together. Otherwise, they're going to lose. But we'll see what happens. With that being said, that is all I got. And I'm out of here, man. Peace.